assuming we get past all the deadlines this year, we raise the debt limit and we keep the government funded for another year. Let's talk a little bit about big picture going forward. I mean, there used to be a consensus that, you know, we wanted to balance the budget, although we haven't done that since President Clinton was in office. But there was a sort of a bipartisan consensus that on average over time we ought to be, you know, trying to balance the budget. And of course, we see with the latest numbers from the Congressional Budget Office, it looks almost darn impossible to balance the budget anytime in the foreseeable future. So I guess the question is, what is an alternative goal? In other words, I mean, it's easy for people to understand we're going to balance the budget. People understand, the public understands what that means. But if you're a politician and you realize that the public is not going to stand for the level of taxes and the level of spending reductions that would be needed to get to a balance, is there some alternative goal that you can both sell politically and that makes sense from an economic perspective?
Well, it's a great question, Steve. I guess I have a couple thoughts on that. The first is, and I actually, one of the highlights, I'd say the highlight of my 30-year career on Capitol Hill was working in 1997 on the balanced budget agreement with Bill Clinton, Newt Gingrich, Pete Domenici, and John Spratt. That was where we brought 4 years of balanced budgets. That was an extraordinary achievement, and it would sure be nice to go back to that. But of course, you're right that the notion of balancing the budget is, I think, so far out and quixotic because the pain that would be caused in terms of either raising taxes or cutting spending are those, as you said, are those the American people would not accept. I think short of that, another goal would be to keep the debt constant as a percentage of GDP. I think that what's scary right now is that the debt as a percentage of the economy is growing fast and to an untenable level. And Concord Coalition put together some terrific charts and graphs, which I think lay that out very clearly. And so if we can stop that trend, if we can maintain the debt or even reduce the debt as a percentage of the economy over time, so the economy is growing faster than the debts and deficits, I think that would be an achievement. I think that'd be a significant achievement and something that we should work toward.
So does that excite the imagination of the American public, though, to say we're gonna stabilize the debt to GDP ratio? I mean, from an economic perspective, it makes sense, but I just wonder politically, it's a more difficult goal to rally around, I think.
I could see the parades down Fifth Avenue, stabilize the debt as a percentage of GDP. The ticker talk, you know. No, it wouldn't. I would like to believe that there is a bipartisan consensus that the debt is growing too fast. And, the president put forward a budget which actually does cut the deficit. And in fact, his budget over the last, I guess, 2-3 years, the deficit has dropped for a lot of reasons, not the least of which, of course, is COVID is no longer an expense. He does it through tax increases, and revenue, I think, has to be part of the ultimate solution. But good gosh, it can't be the only solution. I mean, it's going to have to take some serious spending cuts, and it's going to require all of us in lots of different ways to pull in our belts. And one of the interesting things, by the way, there's something that's out there on the horizon that I think we ought to be thinking about now, is that the Trump tax cuts expire in 2025. Are they going to be extended? The cost is somewhere around $3 trillion or more. And that is, we talk about spending increases, and the Biden budget has a number of spending increases. His discretionary increases, I think, are around 9%. And I think that has to be reevaluated in this economy and with this debt. But we also have to consider revenue and put that on the table.